Hi, going to start trying to podcast here on Rumble now. I'm Stephen Cole, author of the book Full Crazy Town. The name of this podcast is Full Crazy Town. I was podcasting on YouTube, but then they started censoring me and refusing to post my videos, so I'm switching. So I'm going to do a little bit of a review where I left off. On episode 27. I've been podcasting for half a year with YouTube until they finally gave me the axe. So I'm just going to kind of review some of the stuff that I tried to do on episode 27 that didn't get through. I'm going to skip a lot of it because this stuff gets kind of dated after a week or two or three or four. A lot about censorship, lack of freedom of speech, lack of the ability to criticize the government without being labeled a terrorist and deported if you weren't born here, and just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Man. Okay, yeah, well, Iran's not going to be bombed for now anyway. It seems like a few people got Trump's ear and got him to back off that. Oh boy. Just go. Kurt Metzger on Jimmy Dore's show was really piping off a couple weeks ago about America is satanic to the core. Money comes first, and so the government tries to get these influencers. They try to bribe them first, so they'll sell out, and they become controlled opposition. That's the ticket. And if that doesn't work, that's when the threats and arrests and blah, blah, blah all come in. Sorry about this. I really want to get going, but I just got to do a video, get it posted onto my web page, and then I'll get the other 26 episodes, or at least half of them, uploaded onto the web page so that anybody that wants to dial back and see what's been going on, they're a lot cleaner cut than this because I don't have all my notes in order. So I think Whitney Webb came on a show and was talking about the Epstein and Israel connection. Their connection is with military intelligence. It's an agency similar to Mossad, but not Mossad. The gist of it was that Israel is protecting pedophiles and other criminals. It's a ethno state, not a religious state, but they are using blackmail. Maybe that's how they got RFK Jr. to change his stance on so many issues. They use blackmail using underage girls. Most influencers are paid. But then if that doesn't work, then they pull out all the stops to stop the misinformation, as they call it. It's an assault on all of us. It's global. Starts with organized crime in the United States government. Both parties, red and blue, Dem and Repub. It's a network of oligarchs, kind of focusing around a tech group called the Mega Group, which all these tech billionaires and everybody else. But Whitney Webb's book focuses especially on Leslie Wexner and a guy named Bronfman. That was the connection with organized crime and the government. So you have these oligarchs, organized crime, going for global control. That's where the Zionists come in, using the state of Israel, blaming the Jews, hoping that their government will collapse, and then the oligarchs move in, the Zionists move in to establish a greater Israel, Lebanon, Syria, any place else that they want. So the mega group is Gates, Musk, Bezos, Page, Ellison, and others. Israel is especially offensive because, as bad as the oligarchs are, criminals, let's see, Israel is a foreign country and they have us killing kids. Wexner's foundation was for training Jewish leaders, influencers, World Economic Forum, global leaders. The American billionaire Ronald Nader, I kind of missed that name, responsible for Bibi coming to power. That would have been back in the late 90s. Ethno supremacist. Yeah, we talked about that. Contributing to the ADL, tells the FBI what free speech is and what it isn't. The CIA and Israeli intelligence joined at the hip by national security state. National security has been infiltrated ever since Operation Underworld. That's back in during the Second World War, with the Jewish Italian mobs helping to call off the German U-boats that were sinking U.S. supply ships going to Europe. After Luciano was deported, the Meyer-Lansky sector took over, and that was where Operation Underworld got its start. Organized crime, mob families, mafia, Italian mobs, Jewish mobs, started out of New York City and that area, the dock workers. Hard to be an expert on the JFK files. Hard to be an expert. Well, that's always the case. Same networks as Epstein, Israel Zionists, organized crime families. The Haganah was the name before it became the Israeli Defense Force, IDF. Bronfmans are still prominent. Kim had Whitney Webb on her show, and Kim was hearing this a lot of people that listen to Whitney Webb just their jaw drops, their eyes glaze over, and they don't want to believe it. It's just all too horrible. So Kim said, it's hard not just to sink into depression. But Whitney Webb comes back, it's easy to press on and not give up. So that's the difference between Whitney and Kim. You know, Whitney thinks it's easy to keep going. Kim thinks it's too hard. I just want to go work in the garden. So the bankers plus organized crime equals a plutocracy. And just to remind anybody who doesn't know or doesn't remember, like me, a society that is ruled or controlled by people of great wealth and income, not related to any political philosophy. Big tech is about the same as Epstein's system and the Mossad, the banking, the total control. So they're trying to attack the BDF, boycott, divest, and sanction movements. The voters are hoping for magic solutions, but people must take individual responsibility and accountability. We have Epstein's system versus modern tech. Takes a lot of money to finance blackmail operations. So that's where I think it was Wexner that gave Epstein just control of his whole estate. Gave him a mansion to live in, gave him all the money that he got from Bed Bath and Beyond or Abercrombie and Fitch, I forget. Gates related to the Maxwell family in the 90s. Gates related to Epstein, representing pure evil, a super surveillance society. Data was used for blackmail. Poindexter's awareness. What was it? Poindexter's. I'm not sure if it was Palantir or Poindexter, but the system was called Total Information Awareness System. So Peter Thiel, same as Richard Pearl, same as Beebe, same as the Crown family, same as Leslie Wexner, who installed Jamie Dimon at Bank One, and now he's CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, Stanley, blah, 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 whatever. Also known as the PayPal Mafia, Silicon Valley plus the government is a public-private partnership, also known as another name for fascism. And let's see, then I jumped around a bit here to the Bilderbergs. They have an enclave in LA, 150 corporate chiefs, bankers, congresspeople, royalty, Peter Thiel, others. In 1954 was the first meeting of about 200 people, met in a big city somewhere. Some reporters attended, still attend, but details rarely get out. Influencers cooperate with the left and right, so voters can't affect change. Similar to the World Economic Forum, similar to the Bohemian Grove, similar to the Roman Group, similar to the Treaty of Rome, EU. The euro was the Bilderbergs' idea, promotion, world system of control of the world, central banks, bank for international settlements, voters don't matter, fraud, mismanagement, corruption, grifts. EU advocates for war, Eastern Europe not going along, especially Ireland. They're about the only ones speaking out. Actually, all of Europe is freaking out about Trump trying to back out of Ukraine. He's kind of just leaving them in the lurch. And without NATO, what is the EU? You know, they're totally they totally bought into the system, and now if Trump's backing out, they can't back out because that ruins their legitimacy too. Yeah. Anyway, Ireland is the one voice speaking up. The Common Euro Union, I think, was proposed in 1955. Maybe that it was called the EU was called the Common European. I can't remember. Second meeting was in the early 2000s. Wanted a constitution, wanted referendums. They were vetoed. So then came the Lisbon Treaty instead of a constitution. That's what they got. Then I was listening to James Corbett and Carol Quigley on about I guess he's a Georgetown professor, historian, wrote about these groups. In 92, Bill Clinton liked him and his books. Mark Carney, that's the new Brit PM, Financial Stability Board, wrote the rules after '08. Bank for International Settlements, bailed. Is that the banks? Yeah, sorry. Some people are waking up. Workers of the world are trying to unite. Others, MAGA and the left, are overseeing the truth, need to overturn the system, but how? MAGA and some of the left are seeing the truth, but as Trump goes back on so much what he said about we have to end these forever wars, and then it's like war. And the MAGA people just kind of like, oh, geez, we voted for him twice, and now he's advocating to keep, wiping out all the Palestinians. I guess I'll just kind of overlook that because he's the guy, and it's just like the way the Democratic voters bought into the whole Biden-Harris thing. It's really hard to back out once you've kind of made a fool of yourself. It's kind of hard to admit that you made a fool of yourself, but it's happening. Oh, yeah, well, okay. Rumble, grumble. Oh, goodbye, YouTube. Good riddance. Then I was listening to Nick with JB, with Keaton and Russ from Due Dissidents, with KC and Nico. They were hot. They were. That was Kit Cabello and Nico. Those guys were. It's amazing how Nick is such a good moderator. He can keep those guys on topic, not interrupting too much, giving JB a chance to talk now and then because he doesn't talk as fast as the other guys do. But Nick came off with about Trump exploiting anti-Semitism fears to undermine the rule of law. Warns the Jewish coalition. Trump expanding the police state to crack down on political dissent. That's what's at the base of all of these freedom of speech, freedom of expression issues. Is you're going to be called a terrorist if you criticize the government. Sent to El Salvador, high security prison, the rest of your life, no due process, no habeas corpus. Forced choices based on binary situations. And they had the hands-off rallies with Bernie and AOC. Hands off, this, hands off that. Then they got into hands off NATO. Hands off NATO? What? Keaton came up with Dems will have a good midterm. He predicts Dems will have a good midterm based on Trump's flip flopping and saying one thing and then doing another, and based on the AOC Bernie rallies. And at the one rally, I forget where it was, but there was a person who unfurled a banner, "Free Palestine," and that person was hauled out and arrested. And as the person was hauled out, a good contingent of the people there to see Bernie and AOC were booing. Boo! We don't like killing women and children in Gaza either. Don't let them talk. Let them talk. So you can see the dichotomy that's developing, the split within the Democrats and Republicans. So now Trump has fast tracked a vax for bird flu, which is just another mRNA based vaccine based on a couple kids in Texas who died. Reportedly, we don't even know if it's true. Russ um, came up with, you can't say I like this person except for their Gaza stance, because everybody's stance on Gaza determines whether anybody believes anything else they say. I was on going back and forth with a friend on Facebook, and he was talking about, oh, we're going to have a no kings rally against Trump. And I've been going back and forth with him and the other shit libs in Eugene, Oregon about, oh God, just the Trump derangement syndrome. The Palestinian issue defines our time. Nico came up with the world decided that genocide is okay. The establishment just wants to see what they can get away with. And they've been doing this ever since probably 1953, and Allen Dulles and the CIA and the Shah of Iran, the regime change in Iran. But then it went through all the regime changes, all the 50s, 60s, Vietnam, all just want to see what they can get away with, and led right up to the Patriot Act, the Bush-Cheney, mainly Cheney, but yeah, Bush-Cheney Patriot Act. That's when it became okay to surveil Americans and collect data and start, these secret files and suppress dissent. And Nico said, as far as seeing what they can get away with, another example, like dropping bombs, atomic bombs on Japan at the end of World War II. They were already defeated. They already wanted to surrender. They just said, we want to keep our emperor. And they were, no, that's a bridge too far. We're going to drop a couple atom bombs on you, kill several 100,000 people. And then he was talking about Lord Shaftesbury. I can't really remember, but he was the original Zionist. And before that, there was the Rothschilds who funded wars. And then once the Rockefellers and J.P. Morgans came to power in the 1800s, just writing notes to myself. Don't forget to change the filter in the air. Reynolds had about. Let's see. Then we had a Christopher Hitchens debate, Jimmy versus Ben Norton. Kurt said, "Look at his face. You can tell he's lying." Ben, old news. Why bother with anything? And Ben's just given up. Epstein, the Holocaust, etc. Who killed JFK? He said Israel had to allow Palestinians back. As soon as he said this, oh, well, JFK said Israel had to allow the Palestinians back into their homes after 1948. But as soon as he said this, and he started to back out of Vietnam too, making peace overtures, he was shot, though. It was within days he came off about the Palestinians had to have their homes and land back. No way, say the Zionists. Woodward, a guy named Woodward Nava, an intelligence officer, took down Nixon, the Quaker, peacenik, with Watergate. So that's how Nixon was taken down. He was also making peace overtures, but this guy apparently named Woodward Nava orchestrated Watergate, got Nixon out of there, got LBJ in there, and then the rest is history. Schumer's quote just has to be brought up. He said this like a year or two ago. The intelligence community has 6 ways to Sunday to get back at you. And then I've been talking a lot about the Chaos, the book Chaos, and Manson, the MK Ultra. I can't really get into it too much now. I was just taking notes, talking about Squeaky Fromm, Manson, Squeaky who tried to shoot Ford. If you ever, I'm not sure about Norton. Is all over the place too. He says a million things, trying to get back into being a truth teller again, but he's blown it. Anglo-American power centered in Cecil Rhodes and the Dulles brothers. Anglo-American, you might as well talk about the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, that the entire U.S. government foundation of the United States of America, our founding fathers, slavers. We want to be the chosen people, just like the Israelis. Everybody wants to be the chosen people, right? Hands off, can't touch us. And so much of the end of the World War II, what was it called? Operation, I can't forget. The Nazis, so many of the Nazis were saved, and not Hitler did not commit suicide in the bunker, and so horrible you can't believe it. Hitler didn't die until 1962 in Argentina. Freedom, justice, loser, punk slaves. Satanists run our country. And this is again, Kurt just comes out again and again and just says, we're doomed. You think if you got the power to take on the Satanists, give it a try. These pedophores eat children, drink their blood, trying to gain immortality. Israel is blackmailing the free Masonic leaders. So typically the Masons get blamed for being the controlling everything, but the Israel has control over them too, through blackmail, through black magic, through big bucks and influencers. The Pritzkers, that's the family in Illinois, makes money from gender affirming care. That's why they're, so against the DEI restrictions. They forced the girls to change in front of biological males in Illinois. J.K. Rowling basically was just kind of, and this is Kurt talking again, was basically just kind of talking about stupid wizard shit. It's not really. Kurt says her solution is take a potion, make it better. Magic. It's kind of like magic politicians or magic solutions. You have autistic kids being fooled into thinking that they're trans. This comes in on the millennials, happened on their watch. There is unrest in Israel. You have 40,000 Israeli soldiers killed, wounded, damaged, suicidal, and you have 100,000 of the ones in the IDF refusing active service. You have, I think it's 10,000 businesses gone bankrupt as people who have two passports use it, get out. So the money is like leaving Israel. If you're MAGA and you don't feel betrayed, then you're a chump. So we have another battle starting up. The strike group near in the Diego Garcia strike group has settled in near Yemen, near Iran, launching assaults. The message is we'll bomb innocents, civilians, kids, babies, and we don't care if you do have supersonic missiles. So they're all in for just, and the fact that, as far as I know, Yemen has been using supersonic missiles to bomb select targets in Tel Aviv and other places, mostly military installations. But it's really hard to get any casualty figures because it's censored. It's too confusing. Kurt Metzger's, all of our leaders are failures. Now Trump is like Biden 2.0. Old Trump said, you don't have to bomb Yemen. We don't need forever war. I can end the Ukrainian conflict in 24 hours. Good, righteous statements. But now, bomb Yemen, bomb Hezbollah, threaten Iran, forever wars. Yeah, we're going all out. So we have students who write like an op-ed in their campus university newspapers, disappeared. Black ops sites just taken off the streets. Stuffing people in vans. The U.S. Air Force responds buzzing Gaza with a nuclear bomber. Well, now see, that's the real enemy, right? The poor Palestinians. Old Trump, failed mentality to bomb Yemen. Blood sacrifice in the Middle East. Kurt, blood from sacrificed children can lead to everlasting life. Well, I tell you, this guy's dark. I think he's probably spot on. Whereas there's the PBS. What? I guess I was looking at a comic strip, Pearls Before Swine. PBS, Pearls Before Swine, PBS, yeah. Um, Cartoon. And one cartoon character goes up to see the great ass on the hill, um, who dispenses wisdom and asks, "How can I stop fearing death?" And the wise ass says, "Start living." And it's the thing that people are so afraid. They want protection. The Jews in the United States fear for their safety, so we have to um, grant Israel the final solution there. Tulsi flip flops, RFK flip flops. Again, saying things are one thing, but when people do things, that kind of tells, at least at this point in time, what their real true colors are. Sheesh. Man, I hope I can just get this done. Hope I can get caught up. Let's see, capitalism is a system that no one part, bankers, treasury bills, money supply, no one part controls. The decline of the dollar as the reserve currency will lead to the downfall of the dollar. As a reserve currency, this began in Bretton Woods in New Hampshire, long time ago, when the Keynes philosophy, Keynes, the greatest economic professor in the world, tried to recreate the British pound system in the United States. Harry Dexter White, the American equivalent, said, "No way, it's the time of the dollar." Now countries are trending toward gold and away from the dollar as the world's currency. Saudis gave up on the OPEC dollar several years ago. Destruction of social programs will lead to fascism and the more public-private partnerships. The mafia economy leads to a mafia state. Trump's throwing a Hail Mary pass. He's desperate. We're looking at late stage collapse, deportations, reversals of policies, deregulations. No clue what to do. FDR in the 30s got minimum wage, the 5-day work week, weekends, many benefits for people. And even Nixon in 1971 froze wages and prices to counter inflation, threatened to jail any CEO that raised prices. But now we have $35 trillion in debt here. Germany going the same way, building up its military again and again and again and again and again. Tariffs are a tax like the embargoes of old, like the 19th century. They were called embargoes, and they don't work. They just raise inflation. And you can say that Trump can say that, China will pay the tariff. And it's just like him when he said, Mexico will pay for the wall. Just a blatant lie that the MAGA minions, oh, that sounds good. I'll vote for him. I'll back him up. I'll wear my silly hat. The embargoes led to the U.S. revolution against King George III. Might lead to another revolution. Never know. Congress gave Trump the power switch. Tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs on, just to see what happened, just maybe to feel the power of, making the economy tank, making stock market, Wall Street panic. Maybe he just likes to see what he can get away with. I think that's the way of United States world. Like Trump said, China will pay for the tariffs. Blather on the evening news. Trump said tariffs will bring back manufacturing. No, it won't. It costs a lot to move manufacturing. The only manufacturing that's going to be brought back is manufacturing robots to take the place of workers. And then we have just a few people to maintain them, a little bit of oil, a little bit of maintenance to keep them rolling. But we'll never bring back the how many millions of jobs were lost? 20 million jobs lost after NAFTA. Oh boy, wages will be higher, and then the next administration removes the tariffs, and we go back to the way it was, and then you put them on, take them off, put them on, take them off. That's why I called my book Full Crazy Town. Also, the BRICS countries are economic competitors, which wasn't always the case. We only have 4.5% of the world population. BRICS has 60%. The G7 gross domestic product, 27%. The BRICS gross domestic product, 35%. So the handwriting's on the wall, baby, and it's just going to get worse. Hey, can we get down? No, it's over. It's over. It's over. The U.S. has not been able to defeat the poorest countries on earth. Europe is irrelevant, a footnote, living in a world of fantasy. They think they can defeat Russia without U.S. help. A level of craziness seen in fading empires as they consume themselves and lash out against former allies. Same craziness can be seen as the U.S. attacks federal employees in the name of efficiency. Doge, 2.5 million versus 5 million in the state, or in the federal. Okay, 2.5 million people employed in the federal versus 5 million employed through the states, and then 15 locally in cities. So, as far as workers being attacked, that's only 2.5 million people, whereas you've got 20 million in the other forms, state and local governments that can't be touched. So that's why Trump goes for the feds. You can't control inflation. All you can do is uh, attack friends, uh, former allies, off of them, make money, privatize in order to make money off them, like they're trying to do with the post office. And they used to say, like Reagan said, get government off our backs. It means let's privatize everything and make fascism for real. Um, it's like the master and slave. That's what fascism is. It's a white nationalism. It's like the masters are the chosen people, the slaves are the servants. If only the government regulations weren't there, the economy would be fine. What a bunch of crap. Chris Hedges said, but it's dynamiting the very system that makes capitalism work. Um, we don't have the infrastructure anymore. We don't have the education anymore. We had Professor Richard Wolff on the Chris Hedges show talking about Europe had the same problem as the US during the Depression. USSR was providing a good argument for socialist communist government. So that's back to the Depression. We had why did FDR think we had to like bail out the workers with all these government programs? It's because the USSR was working. The U.S. solution was Keynesian capitalism on steroids. Government will come in, build up the military and the defense umbrella. And all Europe has to do is crush socialism and communism at home, especially Italy during the 60s. Then the US National Endowment for Democracy and the CIA will help Europe install leaders who will scare citizens about the evil USSR, how terrible it is, and how we have to build up the military, put our money into munitions and not the people. The basic trade off. We need health care, not warfare. Forget about it. Well, actually, Europe does have some health care, pretty good health care compared to ours. The US doesn't like to fight wars using tax monies because the taxpayers would revolt. So it uses debt, $35 trillion. Europe helped finance the military industrial buildup in the US because the US said, we will keep you safe if you loan us the money. You would have to give your citizens. What we have now is the collapse of that deal, and that's why Macron, um, Britain, Carney, Britain, most of Europe are panicking because we're uh, we're we're not Trump's given up on NATO and making Bernie and AOC do hands-off NATO rallies. What we have now is the collapse of the old system. U.S. economy was in better shape coming out of World War II than it was going in. So after the Great Depression, all through the 30s, the economy was just in the pits. So that's when we had to do something, start uh, putting money into warfare and less into healthcare. And all of Europe was in shambles um, after World War One, and it wasn't any better after World War Two. But for the U.S., it's much better. Now, that's about all I want to do. I'm not quite sure. I guess I've gone 47. I might just introduce kind of a direction that I want to go in the future. Um, Now, a lot of this is old, so I'm not going to go back. I don't know if I've said this before, but a couple books that I've been reading. One, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, about Laurel Canyon and the influencers who, their parents, like Jim Morrison's dad, Frank Zappa's dad, Papa John, Mamas and Papas, John Phillips' dad, David Crosby, Crosby, Stills, Nash Young, all these influencers, the Byrds, the bands from Laurel Canyon helped get the Summer of Love started, helped get the flower power, actually the flower generation, the hippie, peace and love, not anti-war and hate the government. So again, um, the MK Ultra plan figured out how to get controlled opposition into motion, and the Summer of Love. Charlie Manson was a big part of that movement. A lot of the Laurel Canyon bands were part of the Monterey Pop Festival in '67, the Summer of Love, and just responsible for getting the hippie generation, the hippie movement started and maintained. So I just wanted to talk first about, I'm not going to go past an hour. I got about 10 minutes, but In the book, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, they talked first about Jim Morrison. His dad, U.S. Navy Admiral George Stephen Morrison, in August of 1964, the U.S. warships under his command allegedly came under attack while patrolling Vietnam's Tonkin Gulf. But no, even though was there was no attack, even though the U.S. tried to provoke Vietnam into attacking, they didn't. So the U.S. just made it up. They just said that they did. And an enclave of influencers was created in Laurel Canyon starting in, well, it was actually started in Hollywood in the 30s, the whole Laurel Canyon thing, but just a few, Greta Garbo, Tom Mix, and a few others. But starting in the early 60s, mid 60s, more and more people started kind of being moved in. You know, Morrison, Zappa, um, Papa John, the Byrds, David Crosby, Stills, Nash, Young. The first group to drop an album was the Byrds, whose biggest star will be David Crosby. The album, Mr. Tambourine Man, released in the summer solstice of 65, quickly followed by Mamas and Papas, headed by John Phillips, January 66. Third album, Love with Arthur Lee, May 66. Fourth, Frank Zappa, Freak Out, June 66. Fifth album, Buffalo Springfield, featuring Stephen Stills, Neil Young, October 66. And then The Doors, January 67. And so it is that even while the father is actively conspiring to fabricate an incident that will be used to massively accelerate an illegal war, the son is positioning himself to become an icon of the hippie anti-war crowd. Hey, what? Let's make that, instead of anti-war, let's make it a hippie peace and love, get distracted by drugs, LSD, and music crowd. Frank Zappa was the father figure of Laurel Canyon in his place called the Log Cabin at the crossroads of Laurel Canyon Boulevard and Lookout Mountain Avenue. For the next 3 to 4 years, he will play host to virtually every musician who passes through the canyon. The log cabin had caves and tunnels under it, 5-level home with a 2,000 square foot living room with 3 massive chandeliers and a floor to ceiling fireplace. How inviting, how homey. Frank Zappa was Francis Zappa, Frank's dad, was a chemical warfare specialist assigned to Edgewood Arsenal near Baltimore, longtime home of America's chemical warfare program. Oh man, if I see a mistake, I gotta fix it right when I see it, or I'll make a mistake again. As well as a facility cited as being deeply enmeshed in MK Ultra operations. Frank Zappa, no, yeah, Frank Zappa grew up at the Edgewood Arsenal before his family moved to Lancaster, California, near Edwards Air Force Base, where Francis continued his chemical warfare work, and Frank prepped himself to become an icon of the peace and love crowd, which he actually disdained. He didn't like those stupid hippies, and it showed. Um, Frank Zappa's manager, yeah, I got time. Frank Zappa's manager was Herb Cohen, a former Marine who traveled to the Congo in 1961 when Patrice Lumumba was being tortured and killed by the CIA. Coinkydink? We wonder. The other half of Laurel Canyon's first family was Gail Zappa, the former Adelaide, her name was Adelaide Sloatman, who hailed from a long line of Navy officers, including her dad, who worked on classified research. She attended kindergarten with Jim Morrison, who'd later go to high school with John Phillips and Cass Elliot. Papa John's played the number one role in fostering the hippie movement. First, he founded the Monterey Pop Festival. Second, he penned an insipid song. If you're going to sing with flowers in your rose, to the top of the charts, heavily promoted, a sappy song. The Byrds were mostly a studio band that couldn't recreate their sound live. They'd try, and there were a bunch of hippie chicks that would show up scantily clad, like 30 and 40 at a time, and would dance in front of the band and distract everybody away from how bad the Byrds were sounding. Anyway, heavily promoted, top of the pops, along with MPF. What did that? Oh, along with the Monterey Pop Festival, the song proved to be instrumental in luring disenfranchised, mostly underage runaways to San Francisco to create the Haight-Ashbury phenomenon and the famed 1967 Summer of Love. Manson and his family stayed in Frank Zappa's log cabin house from time to time and at Mama Cass's, surrounded by military intelligence personnel before coming, log cabin, LC log cabin. Before coming to Laurel Canyon, Papa John Phillips was in Cuba, reportedly fighting for Castro. Yeah, that's the official thing. Sure he was. JD hosted. Oh, this was a Jimmy Dore. I'll finish with this. Jimmy Dore show was hosted by Aaron Mate, talking about tariffs tanking the economy. But the 401s tank when the stock market tanks. 401 tank also, and that means people have to put off retiring, have to work more until the prices rise again. Can't trust the gross domestic product because the only thing our country is producing are munitions, and millions are tied up. If we were to cut back on the military budget, which just went from $800 billion to $1 trillion a year, if we were to cut that in half, that would tank the economy right there. The ultra wealthy control everything. The eternal growth is impossible, so some corrections are due, says the administration. Mate says, sorry, Kurt, the news is so grim, there's not much to joke about. Kurt still just laughs his way through it. Talk about black humor, he's got it. Just as Bibi was visiting the White House. Trump backs off on the tariffs because the bond market tanked. That was it. And, when the bond market had already been reduced from AAA to AAA plus to AAA, and then it was almost downgraded to junk once the tariffs were laid on and Wall Street crashed big time. But that's when Trump backed off. The T-bills, bonds. Gray zone, 100 plus Meta employees, including the head of AI policy, confirmed as an ex-IDF leader. So that's the head of AI policy is an ex-IDF general or whatever. JD said the warmongers can't lose the narrative or they'll lose the ability to wage wars. So that's where I'm going to stop here and pick up next time on Stephen Still's background. We'll go from there to Jackson Browne, to the band, to America, to Graham Parsons, and all these other Laurel Canyon sellouts, influencers. So that's all I'm doing for now. I'm going to see if I can upload this to my, where's my artwork? I want to get some of my good artwork in here too. Yeah. Dragon art. Yeah. So anyway, go to the website and see some of the old episodes if you want, but I'm going to try to get this going now. Thanks for tuning in, anybody that did, now, later, whatever. See ya.